Warning, the conversations in this podcast are performed by the caveman. For your safety and the protection of those around you, please do not attempt to take anything you hear too seriously on the show.
Let's get it. Booga booga.
Yo, what's up, everybody? New episode of the Cave Podcast. It's your boy Joreezy. I'm here with Mel. What's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
We here. I'm chilling, dog. You already know. Up and at 'em.
Hell yeah. So shout out to Francis and Zach. They've been covering sports on the podcast. We've kind of shifted into a more focused, not so multi-topical format of a podcast show, you know? And so we're kind of mixing it up, but not really mixing it up. You know what I mean?
Got you.
On that slow, fast shit. You know what I'm saying?
All over the place. Fuck it.
So yeah, man. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you guys have been keeping up with Mel and me, we're fresh off the Epstein Files debrief we've been doing on my show.
Man, I'm still high off that.
Yo, we've covered 3 parts. We have a 4-part that we're working on, and it seems to be manifesting into a 2-part type of deal, you know, because it's a fucking 3-hour, 33-minute long video.
Oh yeah.
333. So I gotta split that up, you know what I mean? Y'all motherfuckers be having short attention span these days. So
Right.
what's the point of covering it if you guys aren't paying attention? So yeah, like Mel said, nothing was the same after that. Check me out on Twitch, Joreezy, everywhere else, Joreezy, socials. Mel, you got any plugs before we get started?
Only one Mel, man, everywhere. You already know the vibes, man. New music coming out. Check it out this summer.
Hell yeah. So also make sure you guys check out cave.com, k4v3.com, or at the Cave on all social media platforms to stay up to date. So tonight, this is a topic Mel and I have been wanting to cover for a while. Finally, we thought it was appropriate to jam it into this schedule and plug it in for this episode. Tainted Weed.
Yeah.
We're going to get into it. What does that mean? Before we really dive in, I'll hand it over to Mel, and we got a clip to present after he sets it up.
So I stumbled upon, not only on YouTube, but also on Instagram, maybe a day after, because you know how the algorithm works all together in all of these apps anyway.
Yeah,
but
I believe that.
There is, or has been, or is, operations coming up around the United States that have to do with illegal marijuana growing, right? And it's specifically Chinese people that have come like refugee type deal, and they're forced to come out here and grow weed, but the stuff that they're growing is sprayed with all kind of chemicals. And this is the kind of stuff that we're getting on the street. You know what I mean? And it's going around mostly in our East Coast, I would say, because you live in the West Coast. So it's mostly going on in the East Coast right now. And there are some places in California also that have these massive grow operations where these people are getting houses and just buying houses just to grow all of this tainted weed sprayed with all kind of chemicals and stuff, and giving it to the black market, which is the street, which is probably your local dealer, you know, that you're getting it from. So, you know, this episode is kind of also like an awareness thing too for us, you know, on top of I guess you could say conspiracy, or, you know, just covering, you know, common topics or up-to-date topics, but just eye-opening episode for everybody. So let's get into the episode and let's see what we got, yo.
All right, man. So this is a clip from a Sean Ryan episode where he had Steve Robinson, who's an editor-in-chief for the Main Wire, and he gets into the Chinese secret operations to destroy America.
Is this a business that they've generated to procure more real estate in the United States, or are they poisoning the marijuana, or it could be anything. China has
I would
so
say
many
yes,
angles on us.
yes, and yes.
What am I missing?
So the cannabis that they're producing more often than not has pesticides on it, banned substances. There are 13 or 14 different pesticides that have been identified at Chinese grows in California that are prohibited for use in the United States on anything.
And what's even crazier, guys, is that they're turning some of these illegal banned pesticides into bleach bombs and coating the plants in them.
And these are indoor.
They are indoor grows in the Siskiyou forest in Northern California. They have what are called hoop houses. We can find the YouTube video of some people who have flown drones over them, but they're like city size areas where they put up these hoop houses, which are greenhouses. They'll grow marijuana in there, and then they'll set up like a 55-gallon drum, and they'll fill it with sawdust, which is a mixture of all of these different herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides, many of which have been imported from China and have no legal use in the U.S. And they'll put a wick in them and burn them. And the smoke fills the hoop house and coats the marijuana and ensures that you don't have any product loss to mold. Because that's a big problem with growing marijuana is the heat, humidity. You're going to get mold. You're going to lose your marijuana. So this is like dropping off, Agent Orange or a nuclear bomb that's going to kill everything except for your marijuana. And they're doing this at a smaller level in houses in Maine as well, where they'll cut half a beer can, take these very same Mylar bags that they're finding in California. They'll find them in Maine. They'll dump them into a beer can, they'll burn them, and they smoke the whole house so that they don't get any mildew or mites or whatever pest on their marijuana plants. And that marijuana is then later consumed along with whatever crazy Chinese pesticides have been applied to it, because there's not a lot of testing on it. And if it's exported across state lines, that's inherently illegal. So whoever takes custody of it after that, whoever sells it after that, they're already breaking the law. And there's not really going to be any recourse for a consumer who finds out that they bought illegal weed in a state where it's prohibited, and later they find out that it's got pesticides in it or something. They're probably never going to know. And this stuff has spread so far throughout smoke shops and head shops in the United States that we don't really know where it's being grown. You can't possibly know where it's being grown. The supply chain is so distributed.
And guys, that's really scary to think about. Just let that sink in.
So that's pretty much what we're dealing with, And I even miss is going into the smoke shop, and we've seen a big, massive explosion of dispensaries, especially over here on the East Coast. Like they have dispensaries like liquor stores now, man. It's crazy. Yeah. And who knows where all of this weed is coming from,
Yeah, so actually I'd rather go pick up from a quote unquote trap shop than, legal marijuana store, just because I feel like I get my money's worth bypassing the taxes.
Right.
Allegedly. But also I feel like I get danker product, There's also a legal limit on edibles. So I've already built up a fucking crazy tolerance on edibles. So these 100-milligram edibles ain't gonna fucking do it to me. You know what I mean? And then buying like 3 or 4, like it gets kind of pricey. You know what I mean? So I gotta go. I gotta go to the trap shops, but that puts me at risk for tainted weed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting because when Mel brought this up, I also had run into something that mentioned tainted weed, and they called it spray packs. And it's also big in the East Coast, which is funny because I think it's because West Coast is the mecca for weed,
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
I went to New York once.
I remember. Go ahead, my fault.
No, you go ahead.
I was saying, I remember there was a time where when a motherfucker said you got weed from Cali, that meant something. You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay, yeah, sure, it's from Cali. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And if you think about it, the biggest pusher of the weed culture, I have to say, is rap music.
Yeah, 100%.
Most of the fire songs about marijuana are by West Coast rappers. You know, East Coast rappers ain't talking about weed. You know, East Coast rappers be talking about shooting people and doing some gangbanging shit. You know,
For real.
but personally, I've been to the East Coast. I've picked up some weed in the East Coast. It was really dry, and I mean, if I hadn't smoked it, I would say it's pretty mid shit. But it got me fucking high as fuck.
Yeah,
But
it gets
to
you
me,
fucking
I think that's where the demand sprouts for spray packs, you know, tainted weed,
yeah.
which is funny because I hear in the East Coast that's the preferred type of weed to pick up.
It's crazy because when I first heard about that shit, bro, my immediate reaction was like, why the fuck are they spraying this weed, bro? Like, because I don't like shit like that. I remember back back then when people sprayed it with stuff, you know what I mean? But it wasn't stuff like that. Like people would literally spray it with like lemon, you know what I mean? Like lemon spray or put orange peels in their bag with their weed. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah, I
wasn't
remember that.
spraying it with shit like this. Like this is a whole chemical they're spraying it with, and they're happy to have it. Like,
yeah, and I personally had the opposite immediate reaction to this. To me, I was like, yeah, man, spray my shit. I'm trying to get high as fuck, you know. I thought they were spraying it with, you know, actual terpenes that they've harvested themselves, so they're making it more potent.
Fuck no.
So I was thinking it was some super heifer, you know, not some fucking bioengineered shit.
Yeah, bro. Everything. This is the first thing I said. Anything that they give us, bro. Like, just think about how long weed has been illegal, right? The amount of people that bro. I got fucking or had, you know, weed charges. You know what I mean? Like the people that have been thrown in jail for weed, bro. Now all of a sudden it's legal, and now they're just giving it to us, and now there's a smoke shop on every corner. I already said this. If there's anything that they give us, it has to be tainted because they're not going to give us anything natural, bro. Never. It has to be tainted. So it's got to be GMO. It's got to be synthetic. It has to be AI. You know what I mean?
What a great alley, bro, because the video that I saw that I showed you mentioned that. They said when shit becomes corporate, you really think it's for the people. You know, if you guys haven't been following us when we did the Epstein Files debrief, we found out that most of the companies in Silicon Valley are shell companies for the Epstein fucking eugenics project.
Yep.
And so, like, that's why the iPhones don't give a fuck that they're giving you a fucking micro update on the next iPhone.
Yeah.
And charging you and fucking, you have to, some people are taking out loans fucking to pay off an iPhone. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy these days. So,
it's dumb, yeah.
The thing is, like, once shit becomes corporate, it's never really about people. It becomes about what the people who are leading those corporations are really trying to do with the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And why I bring that up is when with weed, we're talking about tainted weed. It's just like food, you know, like apples, bananas, those can be considered natural and organic fruit, vegetables, whatever, you know, whatever items or produce you find in the grocery. There's a ideal, you know, version of it in your head that comes organically, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
It comes from the earth or from an animal and it's not processed, right? But once it becomes corporate, then they start adding some bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
look at the ingredients. Like the fucking an apple should just be an apple, dog. You know what I mean? But they got some fucking red 40 to make the fucking apple shinier. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. And then they start growing fruits without seeds, cloning them, shit like that. That's what happens.
Right. So it's funny. The video I sent Mel that portrayed the spray packs being something that people preferred was just like Ruffles, just like fucking Cheetos and shit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a brand name now, you know, so the flavor that's artificially made along with the culture around it makes it somehow iconic. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
how he explained it that made it make sense to me was like, the reason why he liked Cheetos so much was because he grew up on it. And
Mm-hmm.
these kids nowadays that are getting the weed that is sprayed, they're going to grow up on it, so they're going to think it's normal. You know what I mean? So that's like, yeah, anything you give a kid when they're young and they continue to use it, they're gonna, oh yeah, I grew up doing that. That's oldies. By the time they get 40, 50 years old, I've been doing this my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, like, going back to my example, like the fruits that we see now, those are fucking fruits on steroids compared to the OG
Yeah.
original fruits that we should be getting, that we think we're getting. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
When somebody says potato chips, they don't think about a potato being, sliced and diced, peeled and fried. They're thinking about Ruffles or Lay's. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And the culture around that, I'm talking about your commercials, I'm talking about people in school, they perpetuate that belief, and then that kind of eclipses what the original was. So going back to Tainted Weed, like a lot of the Tainted Weed that crosses over to the legal weed stores are brand name weed. You know what I mean? They have like these fucking like sprinkles, I think was one of them. They have these
Yeah.
crazy graphics
Cookies.
on them to appeal to you, and then they have
One
these.
came with a Game Boy.
Yeah, bro.
Bro, what the fuck? I just sent the video to my girl, dude. It came with a fucking a stuffed a stuffed toy that looked like the guy that she bought it from, and when she pressed the hand, it played his mixtape.
Dude, I'm not mad at
back of
that.
his head, it had weed in it. I'm like, yo, that's a good plug right there, yo.
I'm not mad at that, bro. I'm not mad at that at
Pretty
all.
creative.
But going back to what we're talking about, spray packs. So it's the terpene, you know what I mean? So marijuana generates its own organic terpene, and that's kind of what dictates its flavor, the aroma, you know what I mean? Its distinctive name, because this one tastes like sour diesel, you know what I mean? This one tastes like fucking purple kush or whatever. So that's kind of where you get the different strains and the different characteristics of them. But now that things have shifted to a more corporate field, you're getting shitty weed and you're getting people spraying artificial terpenes on it to kind of boost it, so you can, because eventually it becomes for profit over for people,
But another thing you gotta explain too is like terpenes are natural in nature,
Right.
so they're in fruit and stuff like that as well. So that smell that you smell from the fruit, your orange or whatever, is terpene. So that can be extracted and bioengineered and sprayed onto your weed or whatever to make it smell like oranges or to make it smell like strawberries and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Joreezy said, they could be giving you the most shittiest, fucked up weed and spraying it with the terp, and just because it tastes like strawberries, you're wild. You know what I mean? It doesn't actually. It's not quality weed that was grown purposeful.
Going back to my metaphor with the chips, you don't know what potatoes you're fucking getting underneath all the fucking seasoning you're getting with the hot Cheeto powders and the cheese
Doritos.
fucking Ruffles and shit. You know what I mean? Sometimes those potatoes are mostly plastic, dog. You know what I'm saying? So and like I said, you know what I mean? You give someone who's trying to lose weight some better alternatives to their snacks that they're already eating, like maybe some kettle chips or some healthier alternative of chips opposed to fucking Takis or hot Cheetos, and sometimes it just doesn't do it for them, you know what I mean? So that's where I personally feel like it's too late, because these things are created in the lab, and I think these things are created to get you hooked, so on top of the almost muscle memory of it being part of your culture and part of your environment, there's also that chemical reaction of it, of you needing it and you kind of craving it after it leaves you. You know what I mean?
And I think also the Trojan horse to that is they can also flip the script if they need to, because now they can put whatever they want into weed, and then all of a sudden now people are getting sick people are dying. Oh, look at how dangerous it is. Da 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 da. You know, so at any time they can flip that script if they want to, and make weed the enemy now. Because
Yeah.
technically, nobody has ever died from a weed overdose. But if they make it a chemical mixture, something crazy, you know, and now all of a sudden people are overdosing and dying off weed, they can take it away just as easy. You know, so now they have the full control of it, you know, of how it's made and stuff like that. That's what I don't like, man. I hate that.
Yo, before we shift over to the grow ops, I remember saying, I forget what episode I said it, but weed's so different now, bro. We're about to witness the first death because of weed. You know
Yeah, I
what I'm
remember you
saying?
saying that. I do remember you saying that.
And that shit
Yeah.
ain't gonna be like, you know, the OG weed, no pun intended, but it's gonna be some new shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. Some crazy shit.
But yeah, let's go into the grow ops because the spray packs have to come from somewhere, you know, and
Hmm.
this is kind of the higher tier of that pyramid scheme. So I'll hand it over to you with the grow ops.
So like the thing about the grow ops though is like, okay, they will literally buy a whole house, deck it out, and you know how, you know, Chinese people are. They're very smart and they have very, very good technology. So they're gonna literally deck a whole house out, make everything growable in there, you know, the whole environment and stuff like that. And set some toys out up outside to make it look like it's a regular house, you know. And there has been, if I want to say, 2,000 houses found within the last 2 years. All right, and there's still more that they've been raiding in the East Coast, you know, um, and it's I don't know, man. It's just a lot. Like it's just a lot to take in because you got to understand, like, what my whole thing is this: where is your street weed coming from? You know, we used to know it came from the Mexicans at one point. You know, the cartels and stuff like that. We used to know that. We all knew that. You know, the brick weed. You know, throwback shit. But now, when it's coming from sources who don't have your better interest at heart, you know, who aren't really trying who've always been a, you know, type of an enemy to the US in a way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and also these, again, like I said, these people are being brought here kind of against their will, doing this growing operation. They're not going to be doing it in the best way possible. They're going to be trying to get it pumped out so that way they can get their money, so that way they can get back to their country and stuff like that, so that way they don't get fucked up. And you know, the story goes on and on and on. So like, if you start, this is my thing when I look at weed, because I've been in the swoop of good weed, and then the weed got really really good, and then all of a sudden the weed got shitty. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Joe,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, it was like, oh, the you could get a dime for $10, and it was this fucking big. Then all of a sudden, Sour D started coming out. It was $25 for 1 gram. You know what I mean? But it was some good ass shit, and it was Sour D. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's the dispensaries and shit, and now you don't know what Sour D looks like anymore. You can get 3 different types of Sour D. They all look fucking different. You know?
100. Yeah.
But
Yeah, dog. There's sour D in all three tiers of, like, you know what I mean? Like, how's there a sour D in your
come on,
fucking diamond shelf, your fucking silver shelf, and your
it it's
cheap shit shelf?
obviously
You know what I'm
created.
saying?
So when I look at my weed, like, I want to see the leaf. I want to see consistent patterns because nature makes consistent patterns. You know what I mean? Not to sound fucking corny, but you know, I'm the spiritual guy. So if you look at an apple when you cut it, if you look at a tomato when you cut it, an orange when you cut it, it has symmetry. Plants do too. A weed plant does too. So if you look at this bud that you're getting, it's very easy to break up. It just falls apart in your fucking hand. There's no leaves on it. There's really no buds. It just comes in just nuggy nugs like that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's not a flower. So if you have to be really, really paying attention to the stuff that you get, man. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm really, really critical about how I look at it.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when I really started going to dispensaries, they be selling fucking actual plants, and there's like clones, and like all this fucking crazy shit. So yeah, there's a whole fucking science and art to this shit. But
100%.
why I bring that up is I feel like we would be in the peak days of marijuana because there is an actual science and art to this.
Yeah.
But since the direction and the goal has been shifted to for profit, and now our environment and our reality is more like these spray packs and these fucking tainted weed, opposed to, like, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
the fucking pinnacle of weed smoking.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah. What it's
saying?
supposed
Like,
to be. Right. Like
so
they're getting CBD and spraying it with terps and telling you it's fucking gas. Like.
right. It's it's interesting because one thing that we didn't mention, and Jack just mentioned it in the comments, is people are dying on the East Coast from fentanyl weed. I heard there's fentanyl weed.
I heard
Dog.
that too, bro.
Locate. I would take a drag.
Hell nah, bro. I'm good, bro. I am good, man. I don't want to be that high.
Yo, let me get it. Let me get that French inhale, bro.
That's
I'd try that
bro.
shit.
He's
But
in that French inhale.
this kind of reminds me of so I was just kind of watching some videos, browsing the web and shit, and I came across Project Artichoke, which was the precursor to MK Ultra. And I guess MK Ultra was a 3-part operation. It would start off with Project Bluebird, I believe, and then it became Project Artichoke, and then it became MK Ultra. But MK Ultra was more on the mass scale. Project Artichoke was more interrogation, you know what I mean, means in an interrogation setting.
Right.
But one thing that they had talked about and strategized was sneaking drugs or sedatives or truth serums into food, water, vaccines, and anything else they can to be low key and sneak it in order to get the subject under the influence so that they can, you know what I mean, extract an info. And I guess obviously it shifted into MK Ultra. So this strategy is not out of the playbook from these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think one thing that I spoke about with the grow up subject with Mel is I don't think it's primarily the Chinese people, my view on the Chinese people have shifted ever since I entered the rabbi hole, if you catch my drift. So I personally think Chinese people are just trying to make a buck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I said, they're fourth here, bro.
But I do think Chinese people will make a buck any way they can. So I think, there's a Chinese demographic A that's just trying to make a buck with the most wide margin profit margins. And so how they're doing that is they're probably making shitty weed and they're spraying terpenes. So they'd be like, oh, this shit's good. You know what I mean?
All right.
But I also do think there's a demographic of them that are getting paid by these people involved in these ops to try to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Create psyops biologically or chemically.
100%.
And so they're not necessarily a part of the system. They're just kind of pawns of the system making it happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's your proof that there's an elite group, that a ruling class that is trying to put shit in our food, put shit in our water, put shit in. And now that weed is legal, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I said it before. Once weed was legalized, that shit was fucking played out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It dilutes everything, bro. And now it gives the open door to synthetic everything, to bullshit weed, to sprayed. It gave the open door to all that because now everybody has it, and it's not uncommon to have. And now you gotta have the best shit. Now you gotta have the newest shit. Now you got to have the most, extravagant shit now,
Yeah.
to make somebody surprised about weed.
Yeah, man. Fucking pushing it to the extreme, all that shit, bro. I see clips of people taking fucking like a bag of weed. It's gotta be pounds, and they just take a fucking like leaf blower and they just fucking fill up a room with smoke, dude.
Yeah.
That shit low key, that shit look lit, you know what I'm saying?
I want to try that.
I ain't throwing in on that bowl, dog.
Nah,
fuck
hell
that
no.
shit.
Fuck no. I'll smoke your shit, but I ain't doing it on
Yeah,
that.
dude. You got Venmo? I'll fucking throw 5, dude. Shit.
Right. I got 5 on it.
So moving on from the grow ups reflection. So what do we do with this information? As a weed smoker, if you're going to continue to smoke weed, I think, first of all, I would say you're already doing a good job if you're keeping it strictly herb opposed to like vape pens and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Bro. Yes.
That's step one. Avoid the vape pens. I don't know. Would you avoid dabs too? Do you dab? Do you dab?
I do dabs. I mean, I think dabs are pretty pure because you can make weed dabs out of pure weed. I've seen it done. So yeah, dabs are legit.
So back to what I was saying about advancing the field of weed scientifically. I feel like dabs are a result of what it could be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. All that crumble and stuff like that, definitely.
Live resin,
yeah.
fucking shit, dude.
Hell yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, so strictly I would keep it herb. I mean, I would dab too. Like we said before the show, I would purchase one of these dry herb vaporizers. I call them vaporizers over vapes because I think vapes, the term has a stigma around it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because when you said vape, I was like, wait, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it to myself, dog. I'm trying to change. But
up, bro.
Yeah, vaporizers, you know what I mean? Because like we were talking about, you don't need to smoke the whole plant to get high. Like I think just a portion of it is what you should be smoking to get high, and then everything else is just kind of waste. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
And I'll look that up and cross-reference that. So,
I think like if you live in a state where you can, you should grow your own. That way, you know exactly what you're getting, what's put in it, what's not put in it. Unfortunately, here in the New Jersey, it is illegal. But if you have the opportunity to do so, I would definitely recommend it. Buying weed off the street, I've bought weed off the street my whole life. But now it's getting to the point where, like Joreeezy said, it's not about serving a customer in a good way and giving them a good product. It's about money now. People are just literally just trying to sell you anything to make a buck. So don't fuck up and get some fentanyl weed. You know what I mean? And don't try to get some sprayed on weed just because you think, oh, I need to taste some strawberries today. Just think about what you're doing and what you're consuming, man.
Yeah, like it's literally just like food and eating. You know what I mean? You're better off just cooking your own shit.
Yes.
And just and you're not gonna cook a meal and master it right away. You know what I'm saying? Like you get better as you progress. You might take some steps back. You know what I'm saying? That's the same shit with growing your own shit, I think.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna mess up and stuff, just like everything else. You gotta learn.
Yeah, so going back, the key differences between smoking versus dry herb vaporizing. Smoking is combusting the weed. So you burn the herb at a very high temperature, often 600 to 900 Celsius or more in a joint pipe bong. This releases cannabinoids, but destroys a lot of them through pyrolysis, burning. Estimates suggest only about 25 to 30% bioavailability of the available THC cannabinoids reaches your system. A big chunk gets lost too. side stream smoke, the stuff that drifts away, especially in joints, destruction by extreme heat. Some source says about 37% of the cannabinoids are burned off. Harsh products like tar, carbon monoxide, benzene, and other toxins from burning the plant fiber itself. The ash left behind is truly wasted. Much of the trichome resin is degraded or gone. You go through more herb for the same effects, and you inhale a lot of unnecessary plant material smoke. Like I was mentioning, after you're done vaporizing the dry herb too with these dry vaporizers, the ash, you can turn them into edibles, so you could fucking get higher with that shit. You know what I'm saying? So,
damn,
something to consider, bro.
Taught me something today. I didn't know that.
But I mean, dude, I would say be careful and be just as cautious with edibles too.
Yeah, definitely.
You're better off making edibles.
Yeah,
I actually pick up an edible from my delivery driver or delivery service, and dude, that shit's weird, bro. That shit makes my mouth numb, and like there's definitely like this,
bro.
There's definitely like this sticky residue because when I brush my teeth, bro, like
still
right
on your
after
fucking teeth, yes.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, what the? I tell my wife, like, this can't be good, but this shit floats me up, dog. You know what I'm saying?
I know, bro. Somebody gave me one of them joints before, bro. It was like maybe about that big. I bit maybe a quarter of it off.
Yo,
45 minutes later, I'm ripped, bro. Like you said, mouth numb, fucking teeth feeling like I had like a film on it and shit.
Yeah,
like,
dude, what the fuck?
I'm like, and bro, I came home, came to my girl's crib, and all I could do was lay down. I couldn't get it together, bro. I just had to take a nap. I had to go to sleep. Like that, there's something in that shit. Like, no, hell no.
Yo, if that's, if I had to guess, that's probably what fentanyl feels like. You know what I'm saying?
Fentanyl on that shit. That's probably what it feels like, bro. Because why the fuck does a gummy have me feeling like that? It should not have me feeling like that, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
I've taken lean before, you know what I mean? So maybe something like that, you know. But
I don't know, bro, because I could do stuff off lean. Even though I was fucked up, I could still do shit.
Yeah, 100%.
I couldn't get it together, bro. I had to sit down every second. As soon as I fucking got home, bro, I lay down. Three
times out of 5 times I take that shit and I try to watch a movie. I wake up the next fucking morning with the movie credits already paused because it ended. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, what the fuck? I wasted that night off, you know? Shit.
Yeah.
So going back to our point with tainted weed and what we presented, what can you do with that information? Stick to flower over the fucking vape pens and shit.
Definitely.
If you can grow your own, be just as cautious with edibles.
Can you grow over there?
In Cal, I think you're allowed a few plants. Let me see.
Because I think so, man.
How many plants can you grow in
And I'll be visiting there all the time if you could.
Hell yeah. Here, let's see. Adults 21 years and older can legally grow up to 6 cannabis plants at a private residence.
I'm coming over, bro.
What's the law over there in New Jersey?
0, motherfucker.
For real? Oh, damn, yeah, dog. That shit whack.
You're a fucking dispensary, bitch. Like,
y'all in the Stone Age still, bro.
What the fuck? Here, bro. Yes. And I think for every plant, it's like 5 or 10 years because especially if it's in flowers.
Shit. Dude, that's so whack, bro.
Yeah, it's corny, bro.
It's also whack. I met some young kid who is studying to be a veterinarian, man, and he got a DUI for weed, bro.
Come on, man.
That shit is the same penalty as alcohol. So
that's corny. That's so corny.
I mean this with the most respect when I say that shit's retarded, bro.
It is
fucking retarded.
The ICANN THC guy that we watched that video from earlier, he covers like a lot of weed news, and he talked about like how, you know, they're trying to do that. They're trying to have like a field sobriety test for weed and shit like that. Like, dude, they're trying to do all kind of shit to keep weed like locked down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. And like we mentioned, because weed's become more mainstream, I think more people are smoking weed than drinking alcohol.
Yeah, 100%.
Big alcohol don't like that shit.
They
You know
don't
what I
like
mean?
that.
You're
No,
taking money
they,
from our pockets, so here comes the fucking propaganda, psyops, and
Mhm.
marketing to combat. Not even propaganda of weed, just the fucking, you know what I mean, facts that make
bro,
it
I
better than
wouldn't be
alcohol. You know what I'm
surprised.
saying?
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a liquor company that owned a dispensary. I wouldn't be
Oh
surprised.
shit.
You know what I mean? Just so that way they can get in there some type of way.
Why don't you just do that? You know what I'm saying? I feel like
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
Miller Lite.
Yeah. Personally, I think all the leaders of the corporations are like certain species of a fucking alien race, so that's why they
Yeah,
can't cross over and fucking, you know what I mean? Like
different.
the alcohol business can't get into the weed business because it goes against their fucking like
That makes sense.
fucking
Different.
instincts or something.
Yeah, laws.
But that's for another episode. I think we should actually do an episode on how to judge your weed. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of y'all motherfuckers go to the clinic, look at that shit, don't even know what the fuck you're looking at, and be like, oh,
Don't
this shit
even
looks
know.
good. You know what I'm saying?
Hell no. No idea.
Shit. But yeah, man, let's wrap it up with that.
Word.
Any thoughts, closing thoughts or conclusions?
I would just say, man, pay attention to what you consume in your body. Like Joreeezy said, food, weed, everything, you know, it's about balance. You know, I'm not saying don't do anything, and I'm not saying only do anything. Just pay attention to what you're putting in your body, man. That's it.
Hell yeah. And yo, again, potato chips aren't bad, but Ruffles and Cheetos are bad. Weed isn't bad by organically, but then, you know, when you start to spray shit and you fucking tamper with it to make the most bang out of your inventory, then you know what I mean? You start not caring about certain
Quality
effects of it,
aspect.
you know what I mean, that
Yeah.
matter to the market or the population that you're selling to. So fuck these guys. Make sure you guys follow us at the Cave, K4V3, cave.com, K4V3.com. Buy a shirt. Don't be a bitch. Peace out,
Yeah.
y'all.
Peace.